Every prison inmate you see behind heavy iron bars today was once an innocent child, full of pure laughter, joy, and the simple curiosity of a small soul. They were children who played in the red dust of their villages, unaware of the choices that would one day lead them into a life of cold stone and isolation. Every drug addict you see wandering the busy streets of Lagos today was once a young person with vibrant eyes, who dreamed of becoming somebody truly great. They had ambitions to change the world, to build empires, and to make their families proud. But somewhere along the line, the light in their eyes began to dim. Every cultist in our prestigious Nigerian universities was once a promising student with high hopes, bold ambitions, and a very bright future ahead of them. They carried the prayers of their mothers and the expectations of their fathers on their young shoulders. And yet, every tragedy begins with a single choice. A small choice made in the dark corners of the soul, often for the sake of fitting in, a choice to follow the wrong crowd for a fleeting sense of acceptance. It is a choice to ignore the wise and ancient counsel of elders who have walked the path before, a choice to trade an eternal purpose for a temporary pleasure. But others allow themselves to be swallowed whole by the growing dark shadows of our world today, losing their way in the maze of peer pressure and pride. The shadows of cultism, the deep and addictive shadows of drug abuse, and the destructive, life-altering shadows of campus violence and intimidation. Tonight, you will witness the powerful and heart-wrenching story of 4 young Nigerian men, for students whose lives were about to reach a critical crossroads. For destinies hanging in the balance, for life choices that changed everything for them and their families forever, leaving a trail of success and sorrow. The difference between them was not where they started. The difference was not their intelligence or their wealth. The difference was the choices they made. Scene 1, Freshers' Arrival. A new academic session begins at last. The sun is high over the university gates, casting long shadows on the dusty road below. Students arrive from every corner of the giant nation of Nigeria, carrying heavy metal trunks, bags, and even heavier dreams of a better future for themselves. Among the bustling crowd are 4 young men who would soon become inseparable friends: Jerry, Jimmy, Billy, and Jack. They were strangers brought together by the invisible and firm hand of destiny, meeting for the first time during the frantic orientation week. They were young men filled with new hope, the vibrant energy of youth, and the fire of expectation, ready to conquer the challenges of university life. Scene 2, Friendship is formed. In the heat of the campus sun, friendship came naturally to these 4 young men. They found common ground in their hopes. They attended lectures together, shared their meager meals in the hostel, and laughed together often in the campus buka over plates of spicy jollof rice. They dreamed together of graduation day, of the caps they would toss into the air, and the great careers they would build in the cities of Nigeria. Scene 3, The Temptation. But as the months passed, university life offered a new, intoxicating, and dangerous freedom. Freedom from the eyes of their parents. Freedom without supervision. Freedom without accountability, and in this fertile ground where wisdom and discipline are absent, temptation quickly appeared. Jerry and Jimmy became fascinated by the cult members who walked the campus with an arrogant swagger, wearing expensive clothes and commanding fear. To their young and naive eyes, this fear looked like true power. They wanted the influence, the popularity, and the respect that these dark shadows commanded. Scene for the decision. One quiet evening in the library, as the crickets began to chirp, the invitation finally came. A secret, whispered meeting. A promise of brotherhood, a promise of total protection from enemies, and a dangerous taste of true campus power that few could ever resist. Jerry accepted the call immediately, his pride leading the way. Jimmy followed his lead, hungry for respect. Billy hesitated, his heart racing with doubt. But eventually, afraid to be left alone, Billy also joined. Jack refused the offer and stood firm in his faith. choosing to walk alone toward the light. Sometimes destiny changes in a single, silent moment. A single decision, a single yes, or a single, courageous no that sets a man apart from the crowd. Scene 5. Jack stands alone. While others pursued the acceptance of the rowdy crowd, Jack pursued his divine and higher purpose with a steady heart. He joined the campus fellowship and focused all his remaining energy and time on his intensive studies, ignoring the calls of the wild. But standing for what is right in a world gone wrong often attracts the most bitter and relentless opposition from those who hate the light. The mockery from his former friends began. The insults and the bullying soon followed him everywhere on campus. They called him weak and old-fashioned. Yet, Jack remained calm and focused. He knew that not every battle is won with fists. Some of the greatest battles are won with silent character. Scene 6. The darkness grows. Slowly, behind the closed doors of secret rooms, the drugs began their silent, deadly, and invisible work on the soul. The substances that promised excitement began stealing their dreams. The same drugs that promised a false confidence began destroying their minds. Jerry became aggressive and paranoid. Jimmy became violent and cold. Billy became deeply fearful, trapped in a world he no longer understood or wanted. One compromise at a time, one bad choice at a time, one wrong friend at a time. Darkness never destroys a life instantly, it destroys it gradually. Scene 7. Warnings ignored. The formal complaints from the university security began to arrive at Jerry, parents wealthy and gated home in the city. But Jerry's parents refused to listen to the hard truth. Because he was their only beloved son, they believed he was perfect and could do no wrong. Every warning was dismissed as jealousy. Every concern from a lecturer was rejected as an attack. They protected him from the very correction he needed. Sometimes the greatest danger to a child is not hatred from enemies. Sometimes it is the blind love of a parent without the courage to correct. Scene 8. The night of fear. Then came the night of terrible violence that no one expected, but many had whispered about in the dark corners of the hostels. A bloody cult clash erupted on the campus. Machetes flashed in the moonlight and screams echoed through the hallways. Students ran for their lives in panic. The air was filled with the smell of smoke and the sound of sirens. Dreams were shattered in an instant. Lives were changed forever by the sudden chaos. And by the next morning, as the sun rose over the broken glass and blood-stained paths, everything on the campus of Dominion University was different. Scene 9. Consequences. The university administration acted quickly and with a firm hand. Investigations were launched, and the truth began to emerge. Jerry, Jimmy, and Billy were all expelled. 3 young men who once dreamed of graduation were now without any future, walking out of the gate in shame. Their parents were summoned to the school, their hearts broken as they saw their sons in handcuffs, their bright futures turned into a dark and cold reality. Scene 1. A second chance. But while some see only punishment and failure, others see a divine opportunity for a new beginning and a total change. Billy's parents chose action and love instead of denial. They withdrew him from the toxic environment and took him back to their humble home. They confronted him with the heavy weight of his destructive choices and the pain he had brought to their family name. They sought counseling and surrounded him with a community of faith. Slowly, Billy began rebuilding his broken life through a new discipline. The journey back was long and very painful, but redemption always begins where the excuses finally end. Billy surrendered his life to a higher path. Scene 11. The reward of discipline. While others had chased shortcuts to wealth and power, Jack had remained focused on his ultimate goal. Years later, he graduated with truly excellent results and top honors, becoming the pride of his entire family and his local community in the village. the same young man who was mocked by the cultists, became a powerful and respected executive in a major Nigerian oil and gas company. His success was not the result of luck or chance. It was the hard-earned and beautiful reward of good choices and a lifetime of personal integrity. Scene 12. The price of drugs. Years of heavy substance abuse eventually demanded a final, terrible, and unavoidable payment from Jerry's soul. Madness arrived at his door, stealing his sanity, his memories, and his dignity. He could no longer recognize the faces of the people who loved him. The once proud and wealthy student now wandered the dusty streets of Lagos, talking to invisible spirits and searching for food in refuse bins. The warnings his parents had ignored for years had finally become their own agonizing and painful daily reality. Regret was now their only companion. Scene 13. The fall of Jimmy. Jimmy escaped the madness of the mind, but he could not escape the total and complete destruction of his physical life. Without direction, without an education, and without discipline, he drifted into a life of petty crime and deep soul-crushing poverty on the streets. The same young man who once frightened every student on campus now begged strangers for a few naira to buy a piece of bread. On a hot afternoon, darkness had finally collected its heavy and unavoidable debt from him. He was nothing but a hollow shadow of the man he was supposed to become. Scene 14. Redemption. Billy's story, however, became something entirely different and truly inspirational for all who heard his powerful voice. Now he stands before thousands of young Nigerian students in packed auditoriums, sharing his powerful and transformative testimony of change. He warns them of the dangers of the shadows and encourages them to choose the light. His life is a living proof that no one is beyond redemption. Scene 15. The reunion. One afternoon, after a major youth conference in the heart of Lagos, Billy and Jack met again by the side of the road. One was a famous speaker, the other a successful corporate executive. Two different paths that had both led to success through the power of discipline. As they left the venue in their sleek car, a dirty, broken man approached their window asking for money. The man's face was a mask of suffering. Billy looked carefully into the beggar face. It was Jimmy, broken, homeless, and completely forgotten by the world that once feared his name. Tears filled Billy's eyes as he realized the weight of their different choices. 4 young men had entered the university gate together, but they did not leave it the same. Scene 16. The regret. At a sterile and cold psychiatric facility, Jerry sat silently in the dim, gray light of the late afternoon sun. His parents sat beside him on the bed, their faces etched with lines of brokenness and a grief that could never be comforted or healed by money. Final narration. As the curtain closes, remember this. Jerry did not plan to become mad. Jimmy did not dream of becoming homeless. Billy never imagined he would stand before thousands warning others. And Jack did not become successful because life was easy. He became successful because he chose discipline when others chose rebellion. He chose purpose when others chose popularity. He chose character when others chose. The difference between these 4 young men was not intelligence. It was not family background. It was not luck. It was choice. Destiny is shaped by the choices we make every day. They entered the university through the same gate. They sat in the same classrooms. They listened to the same lectures. They shared the same opportunities. But their choices led them to different destinations. One lost his mind. One lost his future. One found redemption. One achieved greatness. 2. Every young person watching, choose your friends wisely. Choose your future wisely. Choose your path. To every parent, love is not the absence of correction. Love is not defending wrongdoing. A child corrected today may cry for a moment, but a child left uncorrected may bring tears for a lifetime. To those trapped in darkness, there is still hope. There is still redemption. There is still a chance to change. But do not wait until tomorrow. Some consequences arrive before tomorrow comes. Choose life. Choose purpose. Choose discipline. Choose hope. And never allow your destiny to disappear into the shadows of the night. The end. The choices we make, under the banner of shadows.